Hello everyone, I'm Louise Castanhedo and I'm here to tell you the latest news about the planetary transition. And today, everyone, we're going to talk about the farewell of our dear Tiberius, Knight Templar, a very elevated being, who was here with us sharing all the information about Yahweh, as well as information about our beloved Christ. So let's go, but first let's play the intro. Well then, let's start our video today, always with great joy, where I like to greet all of you, my dear audience here on YouTube, on the podcast. I love you very much. I would like you to know that I pray for all of you every day. And the spirituality has even given me feedback. And they told me that a great amount of light, peace and blessings have already been distributed among all of you. Look how beautiful, they are wonderful, aren't they, people? It's the light, right? But anyway, moving on, I want to wish you all good health, peace, joy and, most importantly, hope in this world of regeneration that is coming. And I also ask you, as always, to continue praying for the rescue operation, people, with the children of Thomas. This group of souls, as I have already explained to you, are souls who, even after having their first contact with the missionaries of light, out of fear, well, they did not want to go with the missionaries of light to the colonies and remained in the threshold. So, you are being given, people, by the divine mercy of our Lord Jesus Christ, another chance to meet these missionaries of light and go with them. So, everyone, let's pray that their understanding may be opened, that they may understand that they are the target of divine mercy and that, based on this understanding, they may willingly follow, through their free will, together with the missionaries of light, for the protection and reception of the spiritual colonies. Okay? Let's also pray, everyone, please, for peace in the world. May peace be established. May all these wars end, people. And also, everyone, let's also pray for the operation, for your vision in the physical awakening operation, because we still have time to pray for that, people. So let's take advantage of it, let's pray, everyone. But anyway, let's get to the subject of today's video. And because you know that I have already explained to you that this being came in more than one mediumistic session, bringing all these complex subjects, which we know are complex subjects, sometimes a bit uncomfortable, for us to deal with them, because they sometimes mess with beliefs that are rooted within us. For others who are already more awake, it is a liberation, because it is an explanation for something that the person already suspected, right? Common sense, reason, loving logic was already suspecting, right? Yahweh, these controversial messages in the Old Testament, some such wonderful messages and others so full of violence, of killing, anyway. And now the explanation has come, right? Because look, people, I always say, please, we should not throw away the Old Testament, because some people say, so Louis, I don't want to know about the Old Testament anymore. People, the Old Testament also contains wonderful messages from the highest planetary spirituality. So, the messages were good and the ones that weren't good were those dictated by Yahweh. So, what do we have to do? We have to use our common sense, we have to use our temperance, separating and filtering the messages, people. And that's what we have to learn to do, to use our free will, to use our reason, because that's what spirituality, that's what Jesus wants, that's what God, Father and Mother, desires, that we exercise ourselves, that we exercise our free thought, right? And reason. So, people, let's filter. It's very easy to filter this, people. Just look at the content of the message. If you're reading the Old Testament, you'll see there are several passages, God's excitement for war, for killing, for absolute extermination, for the sacrifice of animals. You can already know, people, that's not the divine message, it's not the message of God. That's a message from Yahweh. And on the other hand, when you come across beautiful, wonderful messages, like, for example, the 10 Commandments are very clear, right? It says, thou shalt not kill. If he's saying, you shall not kill, you shall not take another man's wife, you shall not take another man's property. What do you mean? You go to a city, kill everyone and take all the treasures. There's a great disparity in that. So, we have to use our common sense, because humanity has already reached a stage of minimum spiritual maturity to begin to understand these things. So that's it, you see, guys? The Old Testament also has a lot of wonderful things. We just have to separate the wheat from the chaff, okay? It's that simple, okay? Very well. And then I was kind of realizing that by the way the subjects were going, that there was already an avalanche of information that I had already received at the end here. So, I asked Tiberius, if after Michael the Archangel's mission, if we would see him again, because I was thinking that they probably, after this operation, think they'll rest a little, that it will be a well-deserved rest, but they will leave the earth, heading for other missions and that I would miss him a lot, guys, because I got too attached to this wonderful being, guys. He has our own energy, wonderful. And there's no way we can't fall in love with a being like that. There's no way we can't love him so much. I even get a little emotional just talking about it. And then he answered me, he said, yes, my daughter, we're going to go on other missions, because that's our job, but we're always going to be connected by our hearts. And from time to time, during our free time, yes, because we have it, we'll be able to meet up and strengthen our emotional bonds. Oh, guys, I thought it was so cute, right? They're so dear, right? Especially because they're so elevated, right? We're still at the beginning of our evolutionary process and they care for us. It's wonderful. Here, look, I'm already teary-eyed here. I'm very emotional, you know? I'm a bit of a crybaby, guys, forgive me. And continuing. So I asked him how he communicated with me. And then he said, look, my dear, I'm radiating all the messages from our ship of the Knights Templar. And it was at that time that I found out that they had a ship, guys, just for them, right? And then he said, yes, I'm transmitting from our ship that is commanded by Michael the Archangel, the beautiful one. And then he said, Our ship also orbits Jupiter, close to the Federation's flagship. And then I also wanted to ask about the Confederation's fleet. And then he said, "No, you ask your dear captain and he will explain it to you." And if you are enjoying the content of this video, please, guys, that little YouTube package, okay? Give it a like, share the video with your friends, and if you are not subscribed, please give us the pleasure of subscribing, because with this simple gesture you, as Jorge says, the one who always says this is Jorge Salim, who I do live on his channel, he says, become an agent of light, and I make his words my own. Become agents of light, guys, because you are helping to spread the good news of the world of regeneration. And then, guys, I asked him about the little horses, because I thought, no, they are Knights Templar, they must have the little horses, huh, and if they have a ship, I thought, right? The ship must be full of little horses. I could already imagine those bays full of beautiful little horses, right? And then he laughed, right? And he said, "No, my daughter, our beautiful horses will be shaped and, in truth, they are part of ourselves." We assume the appearances necessary for each planet that is in transition, that needs our help. And here on Earth, the Knights Templar are greatly feared and respected by the dark beings. That's why we assume these forms. So, people, when we talk about the Knights Templar, it's not that they are spirits that lived here on Earth, incarnations of Knights Templar, because the Knights Templar themselves, just as they did many good things, also did things that were not so good, like wars, violence and killings, anyway. But these spirits of light, in truth, people, they are all extraterrestrials, right? Tiberius himself, he comes from Sirius, he already told me, and he is not Adamic, he has another form, he is different. And I even had a vision of him, a clairvoyance of him, and he's like this, it's like he's a kind of gray, but he's not gray, he's like an ivory color and he's more handsome like this, you know? He has a longer face, he has these big, pretty eyes, you know? And he's a sweetheart, guys. He doesn't have hair but he's so sweet. Wow, he has a lot of light, a lot of light. That's true, guys. So, these beings, they, in fact, they all come from other planetary origins. And when they go to do this work of planetary transition on different planets, which is not just here on Earth, they then study the culture of the dark beings there on that planet and they assume the form that commands the most respect from these beings. And here on Earth they chose to come and appear as Knights Templar. So they will embody themselves in the knights and the little horses. Look at the power of these beings, guys. Imagine their elevation, the mental power they have, right? And then this issue of the knights became clear to me. Templars. I hope you guys are also clear on this. And then I also asked Tiberius if they would go with Michael the Archangel through the dimensional portal to take the Dark Elite along with their Dark Boss Yahweh. And look what he told me, guys. He said, "My daughter, in fact Christ will be with them, taking these dark beings from the elite through the portal." But these dark beings will not see Christ, they will only see Michael the Archangel. So, see, guys, how Christ cares about us, how Christ cares about supervising this entire operation, because he goes along with Michael the Archangel to take these mega dark beings to the planet that is in a fiery state, delivering them to the elevated spirituality that already exists there, which I have already told you about. Each planet, when it is formed, already receives its Christ, it is delivered to Christ. And this Christ, in turn, already forms his work team and sends the group there. Of course he is in charge of supervision, right guys? But then, he leaves the people working there to transform that world into a habitable planet and so on, according to, of course, the planned evolution in that orbit, right? And he told me more. He said, "Look, a strong mental imposition will be necessary on these beings that only a being of the lineage of Archangel Michael will be able to perform. Look, because these beings, people, they are very dark, but they are very intelligent. They have the ability, let's say, to exercise a very strong mental hypnotism. So, in a moment of exile like this, of course they will try to resort to all the techniques they know as a last attempt to see if they can outwit the process anyway, right? Because once dark, a person stays dark for a long time, right? And so, only a being with the ability, with the moral elevation, the mental strength of an Archangel Michael, will be able to order them to quiet down, to make them quiet down so they can hear their sentences, right? And then accompany them and, for good measure, our beloved Christ, who is watching over the whole process, will go along. But the dark ones will not have this pleasure, this honor of seeing Christ at this moment. They will only see Michael the Archangel, who is also a being, let's face it, wonderful, wonderful. My God, very good. And since I am a questioner, I still got one more question from Tiberius. So I asked, and the lost souls, Tiberius, this operation that is taking place there to rescue the lost souls here on the planet? Are you helping in this rescue mission? The extraterrestrial beings, our elevated stellar brothers, are also helping in this rescue mission. And look at what he answered me. He said, "Look, the lost souls there in your threshold and in your Earth's crust are being worked exclusively by your planetary spirituality. And there is a reason for that, because if we were to go there to help in this process, since we have other morphologies, these souls would be very scared if they saw beings that are morphologically different due to their lack of mental openness. There are many who are even scared and afraid of the missionaries of light and do not want to go with the missionaries, which is this group that I call, which they call, by the way, the children of Thomas. So, imagine if it were our stellar brothers helping, right? But that's it. And then he said, and I'll tell you something, Today we here on our ship are training in physical plasmation, and it's really fun to see so many horses and riders here and there. Then I imagine them transforming, some succeeding, others not so much, right? It must be really fun. And then, guys, I got really curious. I got really excited and I wanted to be a little fly on that ship watching all this. Watching them training in all this plasmation, right? And then I asked him what his horse will be like, what color coat he chose. What does it look like? Then he said, "Oh, I'll send you a mental image later and you'll know how I'm going to shape my beautiful horse." And so I'm waiting here, okay, Tiberides? Let's wait for you to send this mental image, because we want to know. And then, guys, when I receive this mental image, I'll try to make an image using artificial intelligence. If I succeed, I'll probably publish it for you to see on the website, right? But I haven't received it yet, okay? I'm waiting to see, right? And then he said, he was saying goodbye and then he said, "Look, that's all, you know, my dear questioner." And then I thanked him very much, of course, for his affection, for his patience with my endless questions. But my heart suddenly felt very heavy, guys, because I knew that this was the last contact I would have with him. And my heart was very heavy. Well, then he said goodbye. He didn't say anything. He said, "Look, I'm going to say goodbye." And with a kiss and a hug, like you do back home. And see you soon. And he left, right? And I was left there, guys. I was sad. I was suddenly like, after he left, the psychographic session ended, right? Well, I was like, you know, feeling kind of orphaned, you know? I was like, empty, I was sad. And during that brief period of contact that we had, I learned to love him with an intensity that I myself didn't know. And then, because during each session I always receive more than one message. Lately I've always received two messages. One that comes with teachings. Sometimes they are spiritual entities. Sometimes they are dear stellar, elevated brothers who come. But then, guys, I always get a message from the captain, who is our dearest mentor, who is part of the Second Empire team, who is always supporting me, as I have already explained to you. He points things out, he compliments things, you know? And then, do you know what he told me? He came right after and I was still there, kind of, and he said, "Oh, my dear, are you sad? Don't be so sad," quote. And I'm going to tell you something, our dear Tiberiades, he is very busy. You have no idea how much work he does. But I'm going to tell you because I was allowed to do this now that he has finished his mission, that he has left. I can tell you. He is actually the commander of the entire legion of beings of light who will present themselves as Knights Templar. He, my dear, he is the right-hand man of Michael the Archangel. Oh, guys, when I found out, I almost fell off my chair. I said, "Wow, I can't believe it." Then the captain said, "You can believe it, my dear." So he's very busy because it's his responsibility to prepare this entire operation regarding the actions of the Knights Templar. So you can imagine his responsibility, the wonderful work, the trust that Michael the Archangel places in him, and yet he found time to come and give us all this wonderful information. So, for me, it was a golden ending. I was, like, really enchanted with all of this. I hope you enjoyed learning about it too, and I'll wait for you in the next video on this channel, okay? Where I'll give you the latest information about our dark boss, Yahweh. Okay? So that's it, folks. See you then. E.
Hello everyone, I'm Louise Castanhedo, and I'm here to share with you the latest behind-the-scenes news about the planetary transition. And today, everyone, we're going to learn why we were separated from our stellar brothers. But first, let's play the intro. Alright, everyone. Let's begin our video today with great joy, where I like to greet you all, wishing you much peace, much harmony, much health, much joy, and above all, much hope, because the world of regeneration is coming, everyone. And always continuing to ask, everyone, please pray. Keep praying for world peace and for your vision in the physical awakening operation, and now for the aftermath, the rescue operation, the rescue of the lost souls who still insisted on staying here, everyone. But all the best. Hey, for those of you just joining the channel, we recommend binge watching this entire series about Yahweh and our beloved Christ, in the playlist we created, everyone, about Jah, okay? Well, today we're going to talk about several other questions I raised with our dear captain, and we'll also learn the reason why we were separated from our star brothers. So, it was like this, right, according to the guidance I received from Tiberius, when he said, "Look, my daughter, any questions you have, write them down and ask your dear captain, and he'll answer them all." And yes, I thought about everything I'd left behind. I tried to make a list of all my questions and wrote them all down in a notebook, right? Because I knew that this mediumship session, this question and answer session, was about such a delicate subject, it would be a one-off session, because they give us the scoop, but they're not always available to us. They have their own schedule of information to pass on to us. So, when they give us these scoops, I try to make the most of it. So, and I didn't want to leave anything behind, okay? Because, after all, it's not often we get a chance like this. And then the session began, and I started firing questions at the captain, right? And then I asked the captain the following. Who is this captain? And also, who is Sophia? Quote. And then he clarified. He said, look, my daughter, Rachma would be the cosmic Christ, but within the vision of Yahweh, who improperly attributed physical attributes to her, okay? So, people, pay close attention, because Yahweh was introducing their erroneous concepts, the way he thought it should be, right? And we have to be careful when filtering this information, okay? So, it would be the cosmic Christ, but within the vision of Yahweh. And what did Yahweh do? Yahweh, he wanted to pull everyone towards physicality, towards emotions, towards this imperfect world of which he himself was a part. So, what did he do? He improperly attributed physical attributes to Rachma, okay? And Sophia would be Jesus. Okay? Only this way, she would be, Jesus of Nazareth, the Jesus who incarnated on the planet and also once again within the vision of Yahweh, who gave him human attributes, a kind of indecision, of lack of clarity in decision making. And knowledge, right? When he refers to Sophia like that, he's saying it as if she were an indecisive being, someone who can't handle being questioned, right? When Luciferia asked the questions, Sophia didn't know what to do, folks. Lie with muscle. Because Jesus, folks, is an extremely evolved being, right? We have no idea of the being that Jesus is, of the knowledge he has, folks, of his clarity, of his firmness, right, of him. So this, folks, is just a load of bull, okay? Keep an eye on this, okay, everyone? Well, and the captain continued speaking, right? He said, oh, the reality, my daughter, is that Christ is an exceptional being, of enormous power, knowledge, moral, intellectual, and emotional evolution, with great loving assertiveness, okay? Well, now, folks, I'm going to tell you something else that's very, very interesting, okay? Which is the question of why we were separated from our brothers, from living with our star brothers, okay? And the captain then began to clarify. He said, guys, let's start talking about the issue of your DNA. So, guys, the captain began explaining this issue of DNA. What did he say? He said the following. You already know that you are an experiment authorized by the Eternal Father, which aims to accelerate the evolution of beings. In many places in the universe, rationality is worked on first, followed by emotion. However, here on Earth, on this little planet, our DNA was configured to facilitate rational, moral, and emotional evolution simultaneously. In other words, everything is evolving simultaneously. And this personal experiment is working very well, contrary to what the Dark Ones like to spread, that we are a horrible race, that we are nothing more than rotten matter, that we are this, that we are that. People, this is a lie. This is dark talk, because our experiment is working very, very well. Hence, people, the desperate attempts of non-elevated beings to try to steal this DNA, creating hybrid beings. I've already told you, right? However, the Creator, God, Father and Mother, who is no fool or anything, wisely linked the granting of power to moral and emotional evolution. So, people, there's no point in trying to misgender the races. People, the self-perception, for example, that a being like Jesus holds, will only be achieved when this being is as elevated as Jesus. Because, people, it's the second law, it's the law of light and loving logic. In other words, as we evolve morally and emotionally, our spirit begins to emit light. And the more evolved we are, the stronger, brighter, more powerful this light will be. That's how it is, people, it's that simple. But these beings don't understand anything. They think that if they take our DNA, mix it with theirs, they will be able to become as powerful as Jesus, for example. But they don't understand anything, okay? They will even one day become as powerful as Jesus. All of us that Jesus spoke of, you are gods, right? Why did he say that? Because he knows that all of us, people, are destined for the light. One day, which I think will still take a long time, we will get there and we will indeed be as powerful as Jesus. But for that we'll have to have the same level of evolution as him, okay? It's that simple. So there's no point in trying to shorten the path, taking a shortcut that won't work, folks. And that's what these beings can't understand, because their desire for power, their desire to dominate, is so great that they don't stop to think. If they even stopped to think, they would already see it wouldn't work. That's why we have, folks, so many abductions, misgenderings, hybrid beings. Say, folks, our planet is full of hybrid beings, and the day we find out, we'll fall over backwards, okay? A lot of that. I've already told you, right? So, this is the key, okay? This is the key that doesn't work. The key, folks, is moral evolution. Do you want to be powerful? Do you want to be a big shot? Evolve first, become good, you'll be better. Then you'll be able to begin to see the light shining within you, and along with that light, the power that comes with it. Right? Well, everyone. And the captain continued saying, right, that once this experiment, which is already in the process of being confirmed, is confirmed, I don't know if it will continue in the world of regeneration, anyway, but once this experiment is confirmed, this experiment will be exported throughout the universe, providing everyone with a much faster evolution. Cool, right, everyone? Very, very cool. And now pay attention. What will be said, okay? That's also why Christ no longer allowed the coexistence of beings from other planets here on Earth. Why is that, everyone? So that the experiment could run and its results could be better observed. We know because even we hear in our science, when you conduct an experiment, what do you do with that area of the experiment? You isolate it. You isolate it for what? So you can observe how that experiment will run on its own, right? Without other influences. So, when you want to make a scientific observation, you isolate that segment where you are conducting the observation process. And that's exactly what happened to us, okay? Well, so, in the past, we had the coexistence that was permitted until the selection of the specimen was made, which was indigenous to Earth to receive, which had the capacity to receive the spirits that would come mainly from Capella. There are other OBOs, but mainly Capella. And that this construction of this specimen, it underwent several contributions that I have already told you about. People from Aldebaran have already told me that they had been here in immemorial times, when they were not so elevated, that they left their genetic material as a contribution to the formation of the specimen that would receive the spirits. People from the Pleiades have also confirmed this to me, and I want to believe that other beings also made their contributions, the Anunnaki, anyway, right? Well, so that we could have this feature, this Adamic shape that prevails on the planet today, okay? Very well, now that we have arrived, the captain continues explaining, he said, "Look, my daughter, now that you have reached the point of minimum spiritual maturity that you are already demonstrating, the inhabitants of Earth can then be introduced to your older, more elevated brothers will also be there, and there will be great joy, okay?" So that's it, folks. Yeah, and this is this phenomenon, what various schools of thought are calling cosmic reintegration. It's very beautiful, isn't it, folks? But now we're going to have contact with elevated beings. The non-elevated stellar beings won't be allowed to come here to the planet, because we'll already be entering a level of regeneration. So, these beings will no longer be authorized to stay here or try to land here. Dora, onward. When we enter the world of regeneration, our contact will be exclusively with elevated beings who will be our teachers. They will teach us a lot, they will pass on to us wonderful techniques that will allow us to rebuild the planet, repair all the damage to the biome that we've been doing, and, anyway, but we'll receive all these wonderful technologies. So that's it, folks. I hope you enjoyed this content, okay? And I'm Louise Castanhedo. Don't forget, okay, everyone? Like, click the bell, and subscribe to the channel, okay? Help us in this mission of spreading the good news, the world of hope, and all these insights we're blessed with from our elevated stellar brothers and sisters, as well as from the high planetary spirituality. Okay, everyone? I'm Louise Castanhedo, and I'll see you in the next video on this channel. See you then. Hello, everyone. I'm Louise Castanhedo and I'm here to tell you the latest news about the planetary transition. And today, everyone, we're going to talk about the latest information about JAW. So, everyone, this series is coming to an end, okay? It's been a long series of videos and from now on there may be more information about JAW, but that's going to be later, okay? But let's just say, this is the last video in the series on this very complex subject about jaw. So, before I tell you that, let's play the intro. Well then, let's start our video today, as always, with great joy, where I like to always wish all of you, my dear YouTube and podcast audience, lots of health, peace, harmony in your lives, lots of joy and, above all, hope, everyone. And also remind you to continue praying for world peace, for the operation to rescue the souls of the group of Thomas children. Well, how can we pray for their vision in the physical awakening operation that will take place, right? Well, let's get to the point then, right? Our dear captain came and cleared up the last doubts I still had about this intricate subject, right? And besides this subject, since I'm a questioner, I also threw in other subjects in the middle, so I was curious to know, and I'm going to tell you all about it now, right? So he said, you're asking about the Galactic Confederation fleet, if it has already arrived. Do you remember that I told you that a Galactic Confederation fleet was coming to our solar system? Well, what did the captain tell you, guys? That it has already arrived. It is already here in our solar system, guys, and it came to prevent any and all possible attacks desired by the non-elevated stellar brothers. This is because you know, guys, that elevated beings, not elevated, are non-elevated, whether they are incarnated here on the planet or on other orbs, right? And of course these beings, who have already been notified by the Federation to leave planet Earth, obviously communicated with their home planets and said, hey, we have to leave here because, hey, the planet is going to pass a phase and we have already received a notification from the Federation to leave here. Because these beings, guys, they are not federated, okay? They are not elevated, they do not obey the light, they do not obey the Christs, anyway, they don't care. So, sometimes their presence is tolerated, on primitive planets and on planets of trials and expiations. But when the planets reach the level of regeneration, they have to, get lost, you know. They already received the notification, look, you can't stay any longer, don't go looking for your group in the other corner. And as a result of this notification, it may be that some of the planets of origin of these beings suddenly want to send a fleet here to try to confront them. So, to prevent any problem, and we already have here in our solar system, guys, the entire fleet, right, of the Confederation that came here to help us in this process and also to reassure the entire Federation team, so that it can better concentrate on the planetary transition process that we are going to go through. It's not that the Federation doesn't have a way to defend itself, the Federation does. We have our valiant Arcturians there. They are wonderful beings who work in space defense, but the Confederation came to provide an additional guarantee. You know, like, for example, when the United States makes the group go to the Middle East, no, I'm going to drop a bomb on you, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to finish you off. So, what do the United States do? They send a fleet to the Middle East, right, with those atomic aircraft carriers and a bunch of destroyers there that follow along. And then this has the power to calm the group down. So, that's more or less the effect. It's obvious that these beings are very elevated and they don't use their weapons to attack, they use them for defense. And since they are so much more technological than the non-elevated beings, which is all a level, right? We have here who have almost no elevation in terms of technology, right? Morals either, right? Well, and there are the beings, these non-elevated extraterrestrial beings, who have more technology than us, but their technology, people, doesn't come close to the technology of the people of the Federation and the Confederation, because they have the support of the light. So they are always receiving new, wonderful, sophisticated defense technologies, right, and anti-attack from these non-elevated beings, right? So, just to clarify, because otherwise there are always people who write to me, "Oh Louise," but then they will attack, they are not people, it is defense. They work with stellar defense, everything, people, obeying the divine principles of light, okay? So, people, it's wonderful, wonderful. I was very happy that they have already arrived, that they are here. Of course they are in another dimension. We do not see them materially and perhaps many beings of these non-elevated extraterrestrials do not see them. However, if they try to organize any kind of attack, do you know what will happen? The fleet will materialize and then they will see what a mess they got themselves into. And then, do you know what they will do? Turn around, look, I will see that they are not stupid or anything, right? Well, and you know very well that the Confederation, because this message, guys, that I received it a while ago. I received it in October 2024, which ended up coming out with the series about Yahweh and such. And so I ended up being a little late in telling you, but in fact the Confederation fleet, it has been with us since October 2024 and it has already acted here and is acting. I have even made a video about this flight of objects that have been appearing and many of them, of course, are all mixed up, right guys? There are ships that are from the Federation, there are ships that are from the Confederation and there are also ships that are from these non-elevated beings, okay? So, guys, at this moment we have to be careful because it is all together and mixed up, okay? The fact is that the people from the Confederation are already working to inhibit the use of the atomic weapons that we have by the military who are still unaware of the issues of light. So, and they've already said, I already told you this in the previous video, right, that they are fully prepared to disarm. They have already disarmed several weapons that we don't know about, because of course the military doesn't want to tell us about this, right? Because for them it's a defeat, right? And pride, my God, right? But the fact is, when they think about using atomic weapons, people come and simply disarm them. And they're already disarming in such a way that they're preventing the reconnection of these equipments, which I think, guys, is wonderful. I always pray for them and say, oh, please, don't even wait for the military. Turn everything off right away, please, just start turning everything off, ruining everything, so that no one, no dark-skinned person, no military person who doesn't have the power to press any kind of button like that and cause damage to the planet, right? And whoever wants to join me in these prayers, guys, look, you're very welcome, okay? But anyway, so, after telling all that, right, the captain, continued, right, and he said, look, only the presence of the Confederation here, of this fleet, will inhibit any attempt at attack, because its technological power is indisputably superior to that of its stellar brothers. Not elevated. So, that's all I told you, right? They are also transdimensional, but they can make themselves visible if necessary. So, let's rest assured because everything is going according to plan by our beloved Christ. Oh, guys, what good news, right? Wonderful. I was super happy. And he also said the following, he said, look, our beloved Christ is very happy, because soon everything will be executed in a majestic and organized way, according to his plan. Look what he's going to tell you now, guys. Look what good news. It says, the level of prayers keeps rising, guys, and a beautiful egregore is forming over the planet. Look at this beautiful news, guys. Indeed, the Dark Ones are trying hard to convince humanity that everything is lost, that we are useless, that everything will end, but in truth things are lost. It's for them, it's for the Dark Ones. They are the ones who are lost, right? Not to say screwed, okay? But they will be elegant here, they are lost, right? Why? Because they are the ones who will be captured and exiled from this planet. That's why they are desperate. And then it was the captain's turn to ask me, he said, so, are you still very sad about the farewell of the Tiberius? Because I already told you, my daughter, that he is very busy. I already told you about this in the last video, right? Tiberius is very busy, because he is actually the boss, the captain, the commander of the entire legion of knights, Templars, extraterrestrial beings of the highest elevation, who will come here to the planet to do this difficult work of capturing and exiling all of these more than 4 billion dark beings. And he is the right-hand man of our beloved Archangel Michael, right? And he said, look, even with all this busyness that he has, he found some time to serve us in a caring and extremely competent way. So, we have a lot to thank this noble being who serves the light under the command of Archangel Michael, the Just One. Quote. So, guys, all of this is very beautiful, right? And we, right, we're already privileged. He spoke to me, with his presence in an extraordinary way. Then I, right, was more comforted. I was already more comforted, right? But then I spoke to the captain, right? I said, look, captain, but you're not going to abandon me, are you? Then he said, no way, don't worry, because we're from the Second Empire team, remember? I said, that's true. Then he said, we will continue our mission together for a long time, as long as our little Mother Mary Most Holy allows it, right? right? So I also always pray asking Our Lady so that she can continue to authorize the presence of the captain here with us, right? And then, next I presented to the captain some general doubts that had remained about the subject and that Tibiride had already he said, right? Look, my daughter, any residual doubts that remain, you should write them down and present them to your dear captain, who will be duly authorized to clarify them for you. And if you are enjoying the content, please, guys, like and share the video. If you are not subscribed, subscribe to the channel, become an agent of light. Then I asked if Yahweh and Demiurge, if they are the same being. And he said, yes, they are the same being. Yahweh is also known as Demiurge. And so that is already, right, very clear. I had already given this information in previous videos, but I want it to be very clear to you. So that's it, okay? The first dragon, the most dragon-like dragon there is also him, okay? And then I went on to the next question and asked our dear captain if all the planets have a ferocious nature like ours, or if this only happened here on Earth. I told you in previous videos that, when that primordial DNA soup was being formed here on the planet, Yahweh and his cronies, right? And they ended up imprinting a lot of violent energy into that primordial soup, which caused our nature to be kind of molded. Nothing like that. This thing of one eating the other, right? That whole scale of feeding, right? Well, it was because of that. And then I said, but did this only happen to us? Or do other planets also go through this kind of situation? Quote. And look how interesting what he explained to me. He said, look, most planets in the early stages of evolution do have a violent nature, resulting from the experiments of the monads during their development. However, with evolution, everything becomes peaceful. Because, when the monads are created by God the Father and Mother, they are created simple and ignorant. And then they are like, look, they will evolve. God places the code of values there. It will not come ready. It will blossom as we evolve, right? And that is why we have this difference in standards, ethical standards that we observe from humanity itself, right? And it is a result of this blossoming, this primer, let's say, of values that God places in us when He creates us, right? And then what happens? These monads begin to experiment with things, and one of the first things that the monads decide to experiment with is violence, okay? It is one eats the other, anyway, those, right? So this issue of primitive planets having a more violent nature is very, very common. It's very frequent, okay? This is part of the evolutionary pattern of all species. The good news is that as evolution occurs, this will become more peaceful and will end, which is what will happen to us now when we enter the world of regeneration. We will then, after a little while, receive genetic engineering technology that will allow us. Of course, people, it's all within our free will. We will choose, we will want to become exclusively vegetarians. In other words, we will not need any type of animal protein, nothing. We will not need to eat eggs, we will not need to drink milk, we will not need to eat meat. We will start to eat exclusively vegetables, without any harm to our nature. And after this great step that humanity takes, further down the road, when we are already a world of regeneration that is better established, we, people, will go along with our stellar brothers, we are going to implement this technique, people, with the little animals. In other words, this food chain of one eating the other will end. Everyone will eat exclusively vegetables. Look how beautiful this is. This is wonderful. I loved learning about this. I hope you did too, right? And then he explained, right? Well, he said that complete evolution presupposes that several situations are experienced for the development of empathy in beings. People, this is very, very important. In order for you to become a being of light, you have to know all sides. All sides, okay? That's why we come on this evolutionary process. There's nothing to be ashamed of. The only thing we should be ashamed of is wanting to remain in evil. That's not good. But making mistakes is a super normal process, super okay within evolution. We make mistakes, we learn to have empathy with that situation, we rescue those situations that are also not something to pat on the head and, you know, as people say, oh, I regretted it. Then he goes to heaven and is happy there, and all those people he harmed stay there. That's not how it works. The person is forgiven, yes, but he knows that he has to redeem himself. He has to repair the damage he did during his period of learning.